Annyeonghaseyo! Welcome to Afternoona Delight, where Leah, Megan, and Amy, romance novelists, and your K-romance guides. So grab some dekboki and listen to your new favorite unnies.
Hey, everybody.
Hello.
And then there's no Amy to go, hi there.
Poor Amy. She has a crazy month this month with her daughter graduating. So she has to sit this one out. I think she's sitting out next week too, but just know that she is very sad about it. And
something I just realized is because listeners think we sound the same, what's going to happen now? It's like, it's going to be, this is your chance. If you've ever tried to be like, I can't tell Leah and Megan talking apart, this is your chance. This is Leah.
So, I am Megan. and what's funny is last week, or I guess would it be last week or 2 weeks ago? Okay, when we had our friend Jennifer Blackwood on, who has known us for 10 years.
Yes.
And she said that she was listening to our podcast and she got us confused, you and me. And I was like, what? You know us? And she's like, I know. I don't know how I couldn't tell you apart. I was like, what the heck?
I'm like, I'm the one who doesn't have a super thick Pennsylvanian accent.
I know. I like say my words wrong. Like
water. I'm going to go on.
One. I know my one. I know. So I don't know. And I think, well, again, I always think you always say both instead of both.
Yeah. So both. I don't know. Like, I guess we have beat this horse quite a bit, but I do think it's funny that tonight is just you and me. Because
I know.
All right.
We can do it. So one thing I want to talk about something because we talked about it a little bit. It was either like last week or the week before. I don't remember, but I know we talked about, kind of not apologizing for, well, we say this actually every podcast, but we talk a lot about not apologizing for what we like, what we do, and also just like who we are. Remember we had that like big discussion about how like
yes, and then I noticed I kept apologizing in every single thing I would say, even to both of you. Be like, I'm sorry I didn't do this. I'm sorry. I just have noticed how much I apologize.
Yeah. Well, there's something happened in your life that you were like venting to us about, and then you were like, sorry, I had to vent. And we're like, why did you say you're sorry? Don't say you're sorry. This is like what friendship is about. Don't say you're sorry. So okay, so I was at a book signing this weekend. I went as my alter ego, Ella Maven, and it was in Baltimore, and it was really, really fun. There were a lot of kind of like sci-fi and alien romance authors there. So a lot of the readers who came were our readers, and it was pretty cool because it was like a one-stop shop for a lot of them. And I met a few readers. One is a woman who I have been talking to online since I started writing this genre. So for like 4 years. And she's always been really supportive of my books. Every time I release a book, she like posts about it herself. And she came up to my table and she's like, hi, Ella. I'm so excited to meet you. And she looked at me and she said, it's been a really rough year. My husband is very sick and actually he's in hospice right now. And I wanted to let you know that your books and some of the other authors here, their books have really they've saved my life. They've gotten me through this year. She's like, I don't know what I would have done without your books. And and she kind of like teared up, and then like I kind of teared up, and it was, an amazing moment. And I don't want to talk about her trauma in a way to like prop up me and my books. That's not what I'm trying to do. But it reminded me of how sometimes I try to like lessen what I do. Or I'll just be like, oh yeah, I just write alien romance. I know it's kind of weird. And it's just these little books. And I find myself doing that to like new people I meet, or, even like with my family, and hearing her say those things to me. And again, I'm not the only author she said that to, but, still, I obviously internalized that. I took it personal and I took it to heart. And it was like another continuation of that conversation that we had that was like, let's not like make ourselves small, and let's not like lessen what we do or who we are. Because I thought about, what if I met a K-drama writer and she was like, oh, you know, I just write some romances. I just write some little things, and really like denigrated what she did. Like, I know as a consumer, I would have been like devastated. I would be like, what? Some K-dramas have like changed the course of my life. Like,
I mean, this is making me think, because yes, like, how is it that if you like make yourself small, are you then minimizing people who love the thing you do?
Yes, that's what it was about. It's not about, thank you for saying it in a better way that I could, because that's what I'm saying. Like, the fact that if I make what I do smaller, then I'm making small those people who like what I do matters to them. I'm making like, and so why am I doing that to them? Like, it's, you know, I mean, I should also up myself. I should be proud of myself. But because I thought, you know, oh my God, there's so many things about K-dramas that have like impacted my life. I feel like I understand so much I've learned so much about grief through K-dramas. I've learned just so much about another culture. I've become even more empathetic through K-dramas. And so I don't want anyone cheapening that. Because sometimes when people are like, you watch K-dramas? What are those? And I'm like, they're amazing.
Yes.
They're top tier TV. Yes. And I feel the need to like defend them as a consumer. So if I saw like a creator of that in any way cheapening what they do, that would make me upset, you know?
Yeah, no, I had never really thought about it in that way. Like, I've defended romance readers. I've defended the romance genre. There's times where I defend myself, even though I have work to do still to like hold space and like and not minimize myself. But I hadn't really put it together thinking about it like that. Like, we owe it to ourselves and to fans and it's even weird to say fans. Because I can't believe I actually used the word fans, because I actually like, that's funny it came out, because I don't use like, and no shade to people usually who talk about readers as fans. I just have never done it before. So
I know.
I feel weird to be like, which is also weird. Like, I'm like, why have I always had such a weird word talking about fans when I'm fans of things? So what a funny thing. Like, why is that like a psychological barrier for me to be like, I have fans? I'll be like, I have readers. Or I say the same thing. We have listeners for the podcast. It feels really weird to me to be like, we have a fan of the podcast. Although, like, I would say I'm a fan of I'm not like, I am a reader of these books. I'm like, I'm a fan of this. So what a weird thing. Yeah. What's wrong with this?
I don't know. And, you know, I thought about it too. Like, there are people who have said like your podcast meant a lot to me, especially during COVID and things. And it's like, well, right. So I don't want to cheapen anything I do, like, in my life, especially if I'm like seeing that it impacts others. And although in the same respect to our listeners, like, I'm a fan of our listeners. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a fan of you.
Yeah, I have,
because you're the one who's fueling the community.
I have nothing against the word fan or people using fan. I just apparently have an inability, or it's a growth area for me to say I have a hard time calling anyone who engages with me or my work as a fan.
Oh, absolutely. I have a hard time with that too. And maybe that's what I'm trying to say. Like, maybe I shouldn't.
This is our inner work. You know? This is our inner truths coming out of what we do.
Because I've had readers who are like, I'm a huge fan of your work. And it's like, okay, well then why can't I say that? Like, what is wrong with us?
And I also just like, so, okay, I'm going to talk about something. So last Friday, I went to Oakland with my daughter Bronte, and we met up with a friend of the pod who is super amazing. Her name's Lisa, and she lives in the East Bay, a retired therapist, Korean American, just a lovely person. And she has a YouTube channel that we'll put in the show notes we have to remember to do this because I am setting this as homework for myself.
Right.
Where essentially she celebrates like the BTS fandom and army life as Silver Army. So kind of just like, you know, from like more of like a retirement age to be like, what does it mean to fan, even like at like an even like elder level, essentially.
I love that.
And and she's so like wise and cool and funny. And so I went with her. It was really fun. We met up and had lunch together. And then the whole purpose of going was we were going to see the book launch for the influencer who does Nuna's Nuchi, who is Jeannie Chang, she's launched like a series of really popular tours that go to Korea. She's got a podcast. She's got a YouTube channel. She's got a big thriving Patreon. And now she's written a book. And her book is called How K-Dramas Can Transform Your Life: Powerful Lessons on Belongingness, Healing, and Mental Health. And
love it.
Yeah, she is. I always get nervous. This is like another thing. It's always funny to meet somebody and be like, I want to really like them, but what if I don't? And so in this case, I could say, not that it matters to her one bit if I like her or not, she's going to live her best life. But I felt like there were things she did that really impressed me because I have not engaged a lot. Like I've watched some of her online content. We follow her, but like I'm not like deep in the rabbit hole of like all of what she does. And she has a really robust fan base. And so I was just kind of like curious to see like how was it going to go? I was prepared to be I didn't show up like I won't like it. I showed up being like I'm ready to like be very pleasantly surprised, like to have a fun time and to like learn something and to feel something. And something she did that really really impressed me a lot was because I think I'm trying to like choose my words carefully because I have like a clear point I want to make and I want to make sure it comes out is I don't think she made herself small at any point. I think she held herself being, you know, she had like an authority voice in terms of like, you know, she has a POV, she has a story. She's coming from, you know, being a licensed marriage and family therapist, right? A Korean American who struggled with identity, and has found kind of like healing and used K-drama in practice where, you know, kind of assigning it as homework to clients to be like, why don't you go, like she talked about having a conversation between a mother and a daughter who were just really at like some heavy impasses and having them go watch Reply 1988 as kind of homework. And then they were able to come back and kind of use some of what they saw as ahas with characters to kind of be able to relate to each other. So she was smart. She was empathetic. She didn't minimize herself. And what she did, which I always really like, is then she wanted to center the audience so much. And so she really had times where she had the mic going around and people were invited to share kind of like their K-drama stories a bit. Like, how did they get into watching shows and what have those shows meant to them? And I'm like, this is very particular. Like, there is something special about this and about this, like, you know, and again, there were people from all different ethnic backgrounds, like people that were, you know, Korean culture, like culturally Korean, who were kind of like, I grew up just always watching this. And that was like APOV, to people that were like, yeah, I found it with my husband going through hospice, or I found it in the pandemic, or, you know, I found it at 2018 at some like, you know, pivotal point in my life. But there's something about the like layered emotions and the feelings and the connectiveness and then the community overall. And so she was talking about how she put the Korean Hangul word for chung on the front of her book, which is kind of like that overarching Korean sense of kind of community, togetherness. I'm not going to co-opt it and like get into that deeply because I'm not Korean, but but you felt it in the room of just being like, these people, like I don't know any of you, and yet I feel like I could hang with any of you because of this. And there's something really special. And I love that she kind of like honored that part of it too in such a cool way. So to me, it became like, I'm a fan for life because she was very much centering herself, her book, her story, and what she's about. And she should. but bringing in and just opening up that community space and giving people this chance to talk and share, I thought was really powerful, and I loved it. And something that happened really cool was while we were waiting to get the book signed. So we're also going to, actually, we should do our giveaway. I've got 2 signed books. So we're going to do we're going to do some giveaways on our one in our social media, one in our Patreon of this book. Mm-hmm. I also just recommend people should get the book because it is great. But we are going to give away some signed copies. But while I was in line waiting to get signed copies, because I knew that I wanted to do this with the podcast because I knew listeners would like it, someone came up to me and just said that they watched the podcast. And I don't know like how that felt for them to do, but like how it felt for me to receive it was, I mean, I got emotional. Like I could feel like my like little throat like tickle up, and then like I was like, I don't want to be like weird and be like, I met you, and then all of a sudden you like sobbed on me for no reason. But I think I was just taken aback in a way to be like, because I felt like this is such a special community, and I also didn't want to like raise my hand and be like, I have a podcast and I'm in this, because I was like, I felt like if I did that, it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like it sat right with me. So I kind of was like, I have a platform. I can talk about K-dramas whenever I want, so I don't need to talk about that. And I also just felt weird to be like, I don't want to throw in promo on someone else. Like, this is just not my space. But when somebody came up and like said that they listened to our podcast, and so Vera, if you hear this and you are listening, I like wrote to Amy and Megan after to be like, that really meant a lot to me.
Oh my gosh, and we were like, oh my God, that's amazing. Because you were wearing, just FYI, you were wearing a sweatshirt that just has our logo on it. Yeah. And that's probably what she saw, right? I
think we posted on social that we were going, like, I think I posted on social that I was going. So if you follow the pod. So, it wasn't like she was like, that's Leah Riley walking down the street. Not even like not even my kids' parent, like classroom parents would know that. But there was something. And so anyway, I just wasn't expecting it. And it was really nice. And it just made me also realize how much more, like after going through that, how much more I would love being in. This is just, we started this in a hard time with COVID. We're now in a really hard time with just like the world is just, it hurts a lot, and it hurts in different reasons and in different ways. And I think that being able to have a place that is able to be connective and kind, and look, you can bitch about things that happen in dramas or not bitch about things that happen in dramas, whatever. But it's just like, it's a safe place to be with a community of people. And so I really am very grateful to everyone who does listen to us in this, because I think it makes me feel a lot less alone.
Yeah, same. I want to say thank you as well. And thank you to the listener. What'd you say her name was?
I am 99.9% sure that it was Vera. I didn't catch it super quickly, but I'm almost positive. Okay. If it is not your name, I will buy you flowers, but I'm almost positive.
Okay. Well, thank you for saying something to Leah, because then she told us. So in a way, you told all of us. So thank you so much. And it's a reminder for us to, be proud of what we do, because we're proud of you.
Right.
And I guess I would say the same thing, like as an author, I'm proud of my readers and I'm proud of the community. So I'm proud of what I do. So,
and I just always
I had a lesson.
Yeah. And I just think it's funny sometimes to be like, if you reach out to people, because I still struggle to reach out to people, but when I do, I usually feel like I get a pretty measured response. Like on the rare chance I reach out to someone and say, I really enjoyed X, Y, or Z, you either don't get a response or you get like a thank you very much. And I mean, we do that. I do that for sure. But I'm like, there's often times where I've got some time and I'll just be like, I don't think this person needed to like, I don't know if they were really looking to engage with me. I'm like, hey, what's up? I can talk. What's up? Let's talk.
Yeah, you caught me at a good time, so let's chat.
And then I'm like, I feel like they're like, no.
Yeah, actually, one of the readers who sat and talked with me for a while at the signing, then later that night, I was sitting at the bar because it was the only place to sit, and because I wanted food, I was starving, and she ended up sitting down beside me, and I don't think she realized it was me at first, and then I was like, oh hey, like, how you doing? And she's like, oh, good to see you again, and then we ended up talking and sharing photos of our cats. And I was like, I don't know if this is what she really wanted to do with her night, sit here and share her cat photos with Ella Maven, but that is what we did. We shared cat photos. It was great.
My biggest thing is I hate small talk, and I'm really, really bad at small talk. But I love to talk.
I'm pretty good at it.
I mean, I can... Maybe I'm better than... Well, I don't know. I tried to...
I think you're better than you think you are.
It depends my audience. There's times where I'm like rocking small talk. But I will say that I was doing some small talk with my son's girlfriend this weekend, and he told me that I was talking like a cringe boomer.
Oh my God. Probably no matter what you said.
But I kind of was. That. I mean, it was a little awkward. She's pretty shy. She's lovely. I don't think she's probably really shy. I think he said she's very intimidated by me, which is funny because I think I'm a very unintimidated, like I don't front with her. Like I act friendly. In fact, I pick her up from school. This is such a non sequitur. And then we're going to get into the topic.
Okay.
I don't know what it is, but I do enjoy kind of just creating like situations that aren't uncomfortable in like a bad way, but are uncomfortable in a funny way, and then see what people do to interact. I'm a shit stirrer sometimes. And so we have the minivan. And so whenever I pick up this girl, which isn't frequently, but occasionally, for whatever reason, I have found it to be highly amusing to play. Do you know Ween, the band Ween?
I've heard.
They're from like the 90s, and like their music is like, some of it hasn't aged well, some of it's funny, but they have a song that's called The Mollusk.
Oh yeah. I know
it's
that
like,
song.
Hey little boy, what you got there, guy? So I fucking crank it. And when she gets in the car, it's like, so if anyone wants to listen to Ween the Mollusk, imagine you get like 15 years old and your boyfriend's mom picks you up, and that's what's playing in the car. And so I don't know. I just like to so yeah, I was trying to relate to her a little bit more, and he was just like, oh, I don't know if this is going so well. And so now I'm like second guessing my my small talk ability.
You know what? I bet she liked it. He's just overthinking.
Well, I mean, he was kind of laughing. I think he was there. Like, he said it right in front of her. He was just like, Mom, this is a little... He's like, you're kind of being a cringe. He's like, you're kind of acting like Nana right now, is what he said. My mom!
No.
And I was like, fool, you don't know what my mom acted like, because she didn't act like I did.
Now you're just trying to hurt my feelings.
My mom wasn't hanging out with me and my boyfriends. Okay. So, wait, we've got to segue chat. This in like a very intentional way based on the topic. Because, like I feel like, what do we do? What do we do? It's too much pressure.
I don't know.
Oh my God, Megan fell down in her chair. Will she be okay?
Oh my God, stop. This is cringe.
See, that's what
that's cringe.
So you agree with my son?
Yeah.
Okay.
God, you're so Nana.
So this is our uncensored. So we are going to kind of have like some broader free range talks. Or the check-in if you're Amy, or were you the one that like check-in? I like uncensored.
I like check-in, but it's okay.
Yeah, we're not checking in.
Okay. All right.
But but we have decided that's kind of nice to have like an anchoring theme. We've done like chicken nugget in the past, which honestly was not one of our best attended episodes. Like if you look in recent memory, that's like our lowest listened to one. I'm like, reasonable. People,
wait,
chicken
which one?
Nugget.
Oh yeah, chicken.
out of like there's like we have pretty consistent listening numbers, and then chicken nugget it was like boop into this like
yeah. You know what? I thought you guys wanted to hear about it. Then no one
much
did.
Not. But tonight we thought we would talk more about kind of just like another K-drama or just a plot convention as like writers, and that is I thought it'd be fun to do cliffhangers.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, okay, first of all, what are your overarching thoughts on cliffhangers?
I'm sorry, I'm going to tie this to books a little bit.
Yeah,
because, I attended, I've attended a lot of talks by Skye Warren, and Skye Warren is, a really, really popular well-respected author, and she runs a lot of conferences. She runs a really, really popular one called Romance Author Mastermind. Anyway, she talks a lot about the power of duets and trilogies. And one of her biggest things is cliffhangers. And she is a massive proponent of cliffhangers. And I always say, I don't like cliffhangers. And Skye Warren said, if you ask readers, a lot of readers will say, I love cliffhangers. But she says there are a lot of readers who say, no, I absolutely hate cliffhangers, but then they eat them up. They eat them up. She's like, I know they do because they're buying my books. Because she talks so much about the power of cliffhangers and the power of a trilogy. So a trilogy where each book ends on a cliffhanger except the last one. So it's a connected,
because okay.
Yeah. A connected trilogy where book 1 and 2 ends on a cliffhanger. So I guess more like Twilight or something. You know what I mean? Like a connected or Hunger Games actually didn't end on massive cliffhangers.
I did it with
that maybe is
my first book series was like that.
Yes, it was. Correct. So I have always said in the past that I don't like cliffhangers. I would say the older I get, I actually am starting to really understand the art of cliffhangers. Mm-hmm. And part of me likes them now. Like, I like the emotional turmoil they put me through. Mm-hmm. And I like to just revel in it. Like, I think about the cliffhanger. Okay, I know at the time I said it wasn't a big cliffhanger. It is. I'm talking about Alchemy of Souls. The end.
The biggest cliffhanger in K-drama. You're like,
okay. I know. Well, whatever. I'm not going to argue. It's a cliffhanger. Okay. I'm not going to get into the semantics I was trying to with that. It was stupid anyway. I remember I loved it. Like, I'm talking that cliffhanger. I actually just wanted to bathe in it. I didn't even want to move on yet. I actually wanted to sit in the conflagration. Is that how you say that word?
I like it.
Okay. Like, it means fire.
Yeah. I love that word.
Anyway, I wanted to sit in it and burn. Like, that is how much I loved that cliffhanger. So I would say maybe, the longest time I said no, and I take it back. The only thing I don't like is a cliffhanger. Well, see, I can't even say that anymore. Sometimes I don't love cliffhangers where there's no sight of ever getting a non-cliffhanger. Mm-hmm. But then I've watched some K-dramas what's the one I just watched that had a really big cliffhanger? Oh, A Shop for Killers. Mm. Massive cliffhanger, and I was still that was a great ride. I loved it. And I think they did finally announce season 2, but even if they didn't, I had a great time. So yeah, I guess I changed my previous opinion on them, and I love them now.
So it's interesting that you went to the end of a series end cliffhanger. Because when I thought about it, what I was thinking about was so what I was thinking about was in terms of watching just a 12, 16, whatever, how many episodes end on cliffhangers, because it's that compulsive binge of I want to do the next thing.
Yeah, I love it.
And so the biggest thing that we've been told as writers is always, you don't want to leave a chapter where everything is wrapped up, because then you give people a chance to put the book down and then they don't want to pick it back up. And so you try to leave chapters with some sense of unfinished business that propels people into the next chapter. And you see dramas doing that with the next episode. And one story, and I was trying to figure out where, because I wanted to be I don't know. Look, somebody who has some time and wants to Google and do some research, figure out the actual truth of this. I did not hallucinate it in a bubble, but I'm going to butcher a bit of the story just because I want to tell a good story. So I'm going to get some facts wrong. But one thing I've always liked as a cliffhanger story is, this very well may be true. I might be misspeaking the author's name. So I believe I'd heard at one point there was like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who did Sherlock Holmes, essentially kind of engaged in like a back and forth writing exercise with a friend of like, kind of like how when Amy and I co-wrote a book series together, it was like, how do you punk each other and create these like cliffhangers that get more and more outlandish and the other person has to respond. And so basically we get to a situation where it's Sherlock Holmes. I may have this wrong, but my memory is that it's Sherlock Holmes. You get Sherlock Holmes into essentially like a box, legs encased in lead, in manacles, wrap the box up in chains, blah, 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 weight it down with things, throw it in the river. That's the end of, like, that's the cliffhanger. Like, and then it's like, I've got you now. How are you going to get out of it? And then the next person gets the book. And basically when he gets it back, it's 20 minutes later as he climbs out of the river and just kind of like, and I was like, well played.
We're not gonna worry about how he gets out of there. Just leave that to your imagination.
There must be some like woo woo that happens, but I was like, yeah, you just kind of keep it going. And so, yeah, sometimes cliffhangers can be so my point is sometimes cliffhangers can be like, oh my God, what is going to happen? This is going to change my entire trajectory of my life. And then you get to the next thing and they like reconcile and you're like, huh. And I can think of a Western example for this.
Okay, because I can also think of a K-drama example.
Okay, so let's do one of each.
Okay.
I will give a spoiler notice. So if you have not watched Game of Thrones and you want to watch Game of Thrones, this is your chance to look away. And Game of Thrones does amazing cliffhangers all the time.
Yeah, they did. Amazing cliffhangers.
So,
like the art of cliffhanger, in honesty.
Okay, so if you don't want to have any Game of Thrones spoilers, because I recently was in a Zoom chat with someone who's like, I'm watching Game of Thrones right now. And I'm like, awesome. And then they're like, I've never seen it before. And I was like, what? And I was like, how? And they're like, I don't even know what happens. I have no clue what's going to happen.
Oh God, they're in for it.
If you are that person and you want to still be surprised at this day and age, you skip ahead for a minute. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with, I think it's the end of episode 7 because it was an 8-part series, right? So at the very end, we see one of Daenerys' dragons gets, taken by the White Walkers. All hell's going to go loose. You see this dead dragon getting dragged out of the frozen
water by chains. Yeah.
And then the eye of the dragon opens and it's that bright blue eye and it's like an undead dragon. And you're like,
right.
And that's the end of the season. And it's like, whoa,
right.
Fuck.
It was incredible. Everyone was I remember that was when everyone was watching Game of Thrones. Like Twitter lost their shit.
And I think the promise at that point was because the entire series, no matter what debacle was happening in Westeros or over across the sea with Daenerys, winter was always fucking coming. And you were just like,
and now it was here,
and winter was basically here. The hype, all the buildup has come. OMG, they've got a dragon. And then we get to episode or season 8, and it was like winter kind of like was like, woo, and then it was like, it's done.
Season 8.
Yes, but so for me, that was like we ended it on a beautiful cliffhanger. It's like, so I was just like, I don't even know what to do with my life now. Like this was so good, and then you get to the next, and it was like the payoff was just like, what? No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this is my K-drama. I agree. I mean, I didn't like season 8 of Game of Thrones. So I do remember honestly that scene where the blue where the eye opens and it's blue etched in my brain. Like it's one of those scenes from a show I'll never forget as long as I live. Like I can picture it right now. But anyway, I can also picture this scene because of how ludicrous it was. Okay, I'm going to talk about Marry My Husband. I got to be honest, what I'm going to say is not a huge spoiler. Okay. It's really not. You can still, if I tell this part, it will not lessen your enjoyment of Marry My Husband, because I'm not really getting into like the weeds of how it happened. But this was Marry Your Husband, and this is the heroine, Park Min Young, and the hero, Not In Woo. And Park Min Young is sitting at a deserted intersection in her car, Okay, she's at a red light. And a white truck of death a mile away starts up and begins careening towards her. She has enough time to go get a Starbucks and get back in her car before this thing hits her. But instead, she just sits there and freezes and like, oh no, and like covers her head with her arms. And she's like, I'm gonna die. And then this Nainu in his white SUV comes screeching in front of her. And the best part is he's just sitting there and he makes direct eye contact with her in slow motion, just direct eye contact with her. And then the white truck of death slams into his car.
So he sacrifices himself.
And yeah, but okay, at this point, I forget what episode it was, but it was not late enough. You like, as a viewer, I knew he wasn't going to die.
Yeah.
I knew he wasn't going to die. So for me, even though like not the prophecy, he was kind of like supposed to die in a car accident. But I think anyone who was watching that, I can't imagine anyone who was watching Marry My Husband thought, oh, he's going to die. No one, I don't think anyone thought he was going to die. But it was so dramatic, Leah. If you understood how much time, how many angles, how many slow-mo angles they took of this car crash, they build it up to like no end. Okay. And it's like, okay, like, and it was also a little corny, but that's beside the point. Massive cliffhanger, because that's the end of the episode. Like, roll credits. Oh my God, what happened? Like, does he have amnesia? Like, at least, you weren't sure. The next episode comes back and he has like a few scratches. Mm-hmm. Like, he is like a few bruises, his arm in a sling. He's totally fine. He's totally fine. And just it kind of felt for nothing. Like, I'm like, why did we? That's when a lot of people online thought the show like jumped the shark. It ended up coming back. The shark unjumped for a little bit. But it was this massive buildup for this stupid car crash. And then in the next scene, he's like, he's fine. And they have their fun and games and everything's great.
So I'm not going to get into spoilers. We are going to eventually get to a drama that's been very popular lately called Queen of Tears. A little drama. Maybe some of you have heard of it out there. But I would say that there is in the back half a real reliance on that convention of like what you just shared.
Yeah. It's like, let's hype up these like weird random, I don't know, like, oh no, is he dead?
Yes. And then, yeah. And so it's an interesting, and I will say that those are my least favorite cliffhangers. I really appreciate 100%. When I think something, it's so rare that you think it's very rare to be surprised by like a death or an injury. But like, so again, put on your spoiler hats for Chloe if you have not watched Crash Landing on You, which I'm pretty sure at this point, if you haven't, there's a good reason for that, most likely in your life. But if you haven't, skip ahead. But when we have the second male lead actually literally die, that's a surprise. Like, I would say, like, to me, if I was going to start Chloe, like, raw dog now, fresh, never having seen it, having watched other K-dramas, I would have been assuming very much he's going to get his way. He's going to find a way out of it. I know he's second male lead, so he's much more likely to die if anyone's going to die. But given that we've, like, amped up a love story for him, like, I would have... I would have just expected that's all being amped to get me to click the next episode, and he's going to have an artful scratch, or he'll be unconscious and she'll cling to his body and he'll be fine.
I don't actually remember the pacing of the episodes for that, but I would say emotionally for me, the cliffhanger is when he decides if he's going to go or not. So the cliffhanger for me is when I like emotionally, again, I'm not saying, I don't remember how that episode was paced. I don't know when it ended because it's been a while. But when he's standing outside the airport with his tickets and he's like, should I go save her or should I flee? to me, that's the decision is the cliffhanger, not a death. I would say rarely is like, is he dead? That's never going to be a favorite cliffhanger of mine. Very rarely.
Well, I just normally assume that the answer is no, he's not going to be dead. And so, unless you're in like Mr. Sunshine or something where it's like anyone can go at any time, Shogun, like where you're just like, I don't know, literally at any point, this person.
Yeah, I would say the cliffhanger you mentioned for. Okay, so the cliffhanger you mentioned for Game of Thrones is probably one of my top favorite cliffhangers because it's not about a character, it's not about death, it's not sensationalist. It's delivering on a promise that the show had been building up to for 7 seasons. And I would say Alchemy of Souls, the cliffhanger at the end of season 1 is very similar. It's not the cliffhanger is a cliffhanger that you know, oh my God, this is going to change everything. This is going to change the world that the drama had like been world building like up until that point. Like, you know, it was going to change everything. And to me, that's why it was such a great cliffhanger. Cause you're like, you want to know how it's going to change and what comes next for these characters rather than just, was he dead or not?
Yeah.
You know,
well, okay. I want to go to the Patreon because we always, for Uncensored, often now we solicit Patreon input. Should we give a quick plug on what Patreon is? Yeah, why not? Patreon is essentially, a community that you can be a part of where you can interact more intentionally with listeners. So kind of like what we were talking about earlier. I promise I was not setting that up earlier to be like smarmy and how I really caveat. But yeah, it's just a place that you can do have conversations. We do for certain levels do monthly Zooms where we'll get on and chat with folks. And that's really fun because it feels like just like getting to hook up with friends. We'll put in extra podcasts for some levels. And then for some, it's just like an ability to be able to talk, react, and it's really fun, except for when I'm really trying to avoid spoilers. So I have to like not go into lots of spaces because I know people are talking about stuff and I can't hear it. But normally I love it. So today we kind of asked like questions or what are people thinking about cliffhangers and K-dramas? And the first one I see that makes me laugh is from Raymond, and literally just echoed what you said, which is sometimes they're done like the last few episodes of Marry My Husband, and I get really annoyed.
Thank you. I swear to you, I did not read Raymond's. I did not read that.
So to me, that is similar to how I felt.
I know that's what he's talking about.
In Queen of Tears too, which we will get to when we do a review of that. But yes, I feel like that.
Yeah, we have a lot of responses to this.
We do. So so feel free to call some out. I'm just going to look through. I see one from Thea, which is interestingly, a lot of C dramas I've watched don't have cliffhangers. The episode kind of just ends sometimes. Cliffhangers between episodes I can tolerate. Cliffhangers between seasons, though, are a whole different thing. I hate them, kind of speaking to what you were saying about Sky Warren. One reason I don't love Western shows, I need a defined story arc with a proper ending. What I've seen with C dramas, and again, I'd say I have watched more than a few C dramas, but I'm definitely like not deep in C dramas, is something I've noticed is that I feel as if they'll sometimes stop, like she acknowledged, like kind of in the action, but like nothing big happening. And then they just pick up in a new, it's almost like they just like cut scene, pick it up in the next episode kind of thing. I feel like I've seen a few contemporaries that have done that. Fairy and Devil felt a little bit more like it would end on more of the traditional cliff notes when we watch Love Between Fairy and Devil. But in some of the more like slice of life, just situational shows, I feel as if sometimes I have noticed it has felt like it kind of just like cuts in the middle of the action, and then it's like the conversation is even like almost in place. And then like the next episode is just like the continuation. And it's not a very like poignant part. Like in books a lot, like we'll have like some of my cliffhangers, because I don't write action really. And so a lot of times I'll have like, you know, like a question or something in the conversation breaks it to like be like, I often do questions like, what about this? And then it's like, turn the page to find out what.
Yeah. Did I end that on a cliffhanger? Hold on. I want to see if that's the one I did. Oh no, I don't think I did do that as a cliffhanger. I don't know. I was really proud of one I did, but now I realize I didn't put it at the end of a chapter. It was in the middle. But anyway, I like this comment from Dinah. She said, I don't like it when writers mislead you, though, and make you think one thing happened at the end of an episode only to say, just kidding. And I agree, because I think I would like that if it's done sparingly. Like if a drama does that once or twice and it's maybe sort of funny, like it's meant to make you laugh, I could deal with that. But I think if it's meant to like just do it for shock value and then it's like just kidding and it's not meant to be played off for laughs, that bugs me. I don't like it. And then it feels a little like lazy writing as well. Because again, cliffhangers are cool if they're furthering what you believe. Like cliffhangers are cool when they like, I don't know, a character gets a new magic ability which could change everything. Like that's a cool ass cliffhanger. You know what I mean?
Or a zombie,
especially when you're
zombie dragon. That's going to change everything.
Yeah, exactly. Or you find that there's an existence of a zombie dragon. Exactly.
But somebody, Katie M, called it, had just a very succinct way of wrapping up what I was trying to get at before of what I don't like. I'm trying to find back where she said, so I can give it. Life or death basically life or death cliffhangers are almost always bluffs. And that's, to me, I feel like that's what I was trying to get at with the Chloe conversation. Was like, I just feel like when I see going into that, I'm like, like we're just doing filler right now. Like to me, often that means like we're in the filler parts of shows where we're padding it out with something where it's like, will he make it? I'm like, yeah, of course he's going to fucking make it. And it's not that like, but it's also like, and I'm not trying to be like funny about like mean about romance because like, you know, we're like, of course he's going to make it because he has to end as a happy ever after because it's a romance. But to me, it's like even like, it's when they have the big build up to something to get the artful little scratch, but there's no character growth. Like you can give me an accident where I know that it's going to be like, ooh, what's the build up? And they survive, but like something happens and now they're like shifted from it. I think that's why I like Mr. Sunshine so much is when you had characters surviving bigger issues like in war or being an assassin or, you know, coming up against like, you know, Japanese colonizers who like are going to take you and you don't really know what the character, like how are they going to, what's going to happen, how they leave those interactions generally has shifted them in some way or like reset their trajectory of the plot. It wasn't just this like big filler of here's 9 different shots of a slow-mo car crash.
Yeah. I think too, like, I guess we're supposed to be like, oh my God, he would sacrifice himself for her. And it's like, we knew that. Yeah. We knew that. I didn't need this car crash. Like, I knew he would have done that. And I think she knew he would have done that. Like, it didn't feel to me like it furthered even their relationship. It just felt like they needed something to throw at the end of the episode to make a cliffhanger. You know what I mean? Caroline says, or do we say her name Caroline?
I think it's Caroline.
I'll have to ask Caroline. Her. I think it is. She said, oh yeah, cliffhangers are good when they contain an unexpected plot twist or revelation. Same thing. Or if something happens to one of the leads that makes you go, no. And Claire, I like this one too. She says, I often don't watch to the end of episodes unless I know I can start the next one right away. I don't like cliffhangers keeping me up at night. And that's exactly how I watch K-dramas. I will stop in the middle of an episode. I will stop at a slow point because I don't like, I know the end of the episode is going to make me want to keep watching. So a lot of times I stop in the middle. So I'll always be like, well, I've watched to the middle of episode 4. Like I'll always say that because that's often where I stop. I
actually realized because as soon as you were saying that, I'm like, what a silly idea. And then I'm like, no, actually that's kind of what I do too. I just hadn't really like thought through how I do it. I either fall asleep with it going and then wake up and I'm like, fuck, I'm on like episode 32 and I don't even know where I fell asleep, or I intentionally stop it.
Oh, you know what Heather CK said? I forgot about this. Some of my faves are the introduction of a new character at the end of an episode, or the suggestion of a new character, like who's at the door in Only Friends, or who's the new cellmate in Prison Playbook. I do like cliffhangers like that. I do remember in Prison Playbook the introduction of Jung Hae-in as the new cellmate, and that was a really, really cool cliffhanger. So I completely agree with that one.
Deborah talks about one again. I'm going to this has a spoiler for Goblin in it. If you have not seen Goblin or Guardian, the Great and Lonely God, skip ahead. Also, what are you doing? Come on. Like either, if you haven't watched it and you want to watch it, it's time. This is your chance. Okay. So they use the example of Goblin at the end, but the idea of the people who write and direct these shows have the dopamine hit of cliffhangers down to a science, which is again what I think Skywarn's getting at. It is like the dopamine hit. I'm not a scientist, but what I've read is it's the anticipation that causes the dopamine hit more than the actual event. So I love and hate them. They work, they keep me clicking and losing countless hours of sleep. I need to know what happened since Goblin disintegrated into nothingness and there are still 3 episodes left. That was a great cliffhanger, because that was one of the things where it's like, when he disintegrates to nothingness,
it changes everything.
I was still positive there would be a happy ending at that point. I wasn't like, will there be no happy? I mean, there could have been no, but at that point, I still was very much in the promise the first time of watching it. Like, they're going to work it out. Something's going to happen. But it's fun to me to be like, I have no effing clue what's going to happen.
Right. You don't know. Yeah. You don't know how they're going to handle it. I totally agree. So Kara said, can I just say that every episode of Flower of Evil had a cliffhanger?
I mean,
and
it was so good.
100%.
I think
a couple people mentioned Alchemy of Souls as well.
Yes, I think Alchemy of Souls had that really. So, and I didn't watch it live. So that's always what's funny too, is like, I feel like you get into like the trenches with folks. Like if you were watching Game of Thrones all together at the same time, we were all just in it raw. Like you were waiting, you would stop, everyone would talk about it, the build up for it coming back. And so I saw people doing that with Alchemy of Souls. I was not in that, because by the time I watched it, the second season was out. So I never had to have the agony of the wait.
And I know, I will say though, I miss that.
Yeah.
Like I know that like when in the streaming service and whatever, we don't do that, but as much anymore, but I do miss the times where Game of Thrones would play every Sunday night, and then you'd sign on Twitter after the episode and everyone would be like losing their shit over it. And you'd get all this commentary and you'd read all these theories. It was the same with The Walking Dead. I remember, Walking Dead in its heyday was massive. And so you'd watch the episode and then you'd go on Twitter and you'd just be able to read again, all the theories, all the commentary.
Oh, I love doing that.
People comparing the graphic novels, which I have on my shelf, people comparing the graphic novels with it and everything. So I miss that. That's one of the reasons I do like watching K-dramas live if I can, because I love hearing the discussion from our listeners, because they'll message us, they'll post on Patreon. So they want to engage in real time. And I do like that. It's just obviously hard to do.
I feel like I am shit at doing that, and I let people down. And then even worse, people are like, I want to talk to you about this. I'm like, do not speak to me of this. I have not seen it. And then people are like, oh no, I'm so sorry.
It's like, no, don't tell me.
Another one, I'm going to go for a Western example, but like one that gripped me, because I didn't watch Walking Dead, but the amount of time I spent in the new Star Wars, like when the final 3 Star Wars came out, with like the Kylo Ren era, between movie 1 and movie 2, movie 3, meh, on a bit, like very meh. But 1 I thought was great, and I really liked. 2 was, I thought, amazing. But I loved the end of, I'm pretty sure it was the first of the newest ones, where The Last Jedi, where it is Rey and she finally gets to Luke Skywalker's lonely monastery island, and he's like emerging from his rock hut, and she's handing him the lightsaber, and she has her arm outstretched, and that's the end. Like, I loved that so much because I'm a big Star Wars girly, for better or worse, and that one really got me.
Yeah.
Because like that passing of the baton, literally, and then like that connection to the new versus like the respect to the old, and then the sense of like I really don't know what Luke is going to do. And so you spend all this time waiting for the new one to start to be like, what is he going to do? Like, what's going to happen? Is he going to like take up the cause? Is he going to be a misanthrope? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember, oh my God, it was like, I felt like Pavlov's dog when I would watch The Walking Dead, because it would be like, you'd get to the end of the episode and it would be that music that like, and it would be like immediately rush to see theories and talk about it. Oh my God, I miss it. But yeah, I mean, it's like, again, I'm like a liar if I say I don't like cliffhangers, because I clearly do. I clearly love him.
So, okay, this actually is a good segue to one thing I wanted to touch on before we finished, which is because I watched Queen of Tears in an interesting way. First, I was really, really fucking busy. Like, I was copy editing. I was trying to plot the new book. I just was really, really busy. And so I was kind of watching an episode like every other day, basically. And so I don't know if it was how I was watching it, but like it was rare that I was having like the like cracky binge fest. And so again, sometimes I'm like, and I know people were like, I'm binging. And so I was like, oh my gosh, occasionally I'll be like, is my binger broken? Like, do I have a broken binger where I'm just like not that I'm not feeling it in the world or anything, but I'm like, I love to just be on that like irresponsible high where I'm just like, fuck it, and like I go for it.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I feel like my binger is broken. I'm just not having it. And cliffhangers and like your version of crack, whatever content it is, has to align for you. So when I finish Queen of Tears, Allison, who is from Afternoona Army, friend of the pod, messaged me and was like, it's time for you to watch Unknown now. And she's been telling me to watch Unknown for a while. It's a BL that is on Viki. And I'm going to try to sell you on it. And I'm going to possibly be irresponsible because Amy's watching Queen of Tears right now.
This is long.
She's doing her homework. Yeah, but they're only 25 minutes.
I know, but still.
I like it. 12 episodes.
Anyway.
I started it.
Yeah, of course Amy's doing her homework.
She's getting through Queen of Tears nice and easy. You're going to start it. But I was like, fuck it. Watch Unknown. Because I started it last night. I watched so episodes 1 to 11 are out on Viki. I watched to episode 11 I watched every available episode in one sitting. I was up till 3 a.m. with like having to get up at 4 or at 7 for school. I got up at like 6:30. And then I saw a student today who'd had a baby recently, like one of our students in our community. And she was like, oh my gosh, it's just such a good night if I get like 4.5 hours of sleep. And I was like, oh my God, even the brand new mom with the new baby's getting more sleep than me because I was a bingeaholic last night.
Oh my God.
But this drama, like, and it doesn't do like the big, like it's not like the big trucks of doom, but it's like it puts it in enough, like it ends on like those situational things where you're like, like I just need to see this couple. And BL does this so well when they get the angst dialed up to like 10. And you're just like, I need to see them kiss or I will die.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. I know what you mean.
Yes. My daughter has this thing where like she'll talk to me and then she's got like the demon inside her named Priscilla. This is like a new thing for her. And she'll like put her hand over her
which one?
Bronte, my middle. So she'll be like, talk, and then she'll like do a hand over her face and be like, I'm Priscilla. And I feel like that was me last night. I'm like, I'm going to watch Unknown. I'll watch a few episodes. The hand goes down over my face. I'm like, I will watch it all until their tongues are touching.
It's like 5 hours later. Your like eyes are all red and bloodshot.
Yes. So I'm going to sell
You're on the couch in the dark.
I'm going to sell you on this drama.
this thing, I am going, like, I want, go ahead.
Okay.
But
well,
I will tell you,
listeners.
I
guess I'm selling the listeners versus you. And I do.
Because I'm already planning.
But I have to say, I do. The first thing I have to just apologize for right off the bat is it's not like my Korean pronunciation's winning any fucking awards, right? But I do my best and I've gotten much better. Well,
right.
I don't know. I mean, people listening are like, well, not don't say much better. I have gotten better than I was when we started.
A little.
Yeah, a little better. Okay. When we go to Chinese names, I really don't.
God,
I
I'm
just
the worst.
don't want to F up too bad. Okay. So we basically have a situation where these, I'm trying to think of like the selling points to me because I'm a monster. So a selling point to me is this is incest light.
Oh my God. Are they stepbrothers?
No. Are they brothers?
Oh.
Yes. But are they brothers through genetics? No. So what we have...
I've watched like many BLs that.
But were they brothers from like way back? Oh, yeah. And so it gets a little... Because the beginning is there is an age gap. Not a wildly problematic age gap, but enough. Like I would say, if it says in there, I skipped over it, but like I'm guessing 5 years-ish. Like one is like very much like older than the other. And so we have 2 siblings, a brother and a sister, who essentially we're not really sure where dad was, but mom definitely had some like intravenous drug issues, was an abuser. She's abandoned them or dead. She's just not around. And they've been, through the kindness of a family friend, they've been able to like stay in this house, not really have to pay rent. It's a nice place where they had lived. And he provides for his biological little sister. And this guy is basically like the breadwinner. He joins like a bad gang at one point to try to provide. But luckily we have like a little gang activity, but it's not like tons of gang activity. Like he kind of is in the gang, but then he gets into like IT.
Oh.
But anyway, when he's younger and scrappy and trying to make some money to like support his sister and whatever, every night when he walks home, there's an underpass, and in the underpass is a homeless youth, an unhoused youth, a little boy. And this little boy's just always under the bridge, just completely alone, like wrapped in newspapers, like, Wah! And he'll give him like dumplings. He'll just give him whatever. And so he starts to like give him his jacket on cold nights. And then one night the boy starts following him home, and he was basically like, no, like, I'll help you, but you can't, like, I got enough going on. I got to look after my little sister. And the boy just is like, keeps following him like a little puppy. Yeah. So he brings him home. Like he's the same age as his sister, basically. And so now all of a sudden he's got like two littles that he has to look after. And that's kind of like the premise. So for the first couple of episodes, this is where I was like, please don't like morally, because I will have to tap out if it's like morally fucked up, and it's not. When they are little, even because there's enough of an age gap that like if there was feelings, it would be like, this is not good. That does not happen.
It's morally wrong. I'm not into this. That
does not happen. But you do have to get over the fact that, like, you know, the goblin in school uniform kind of vibes. There's a little bit of that. Like there's them young, kind of living their lives without crushes, without romance. But then as we kind of move them into the younger one, into more of like the puberty and beyond, like, you know, like being a young man, not too old. Look, he catches feelings for his big bro. And it's like the greenest flag, puppy dog, heart on his sleeve, who falls in love with his caretaker, essentially. And the caretaker is like the biggest tsundere with like trauma issues, who like is like, my job is just to take care and provide for both of my littles. And when like the person who he loves so much all of a sudden is like, I love you too, but not like a brother. It's like a moral crisis for him.
Right.
Fucking good.
I'm sold. I'm sold as soon as you said about a little boy under the... I don't need any more. So
there is a forbidden line, because throughout the whole thing, they are known as brother. Like everywhere they go, it's like, is your brother here? Is your brother here? And it's not like,
Right.
Yeah. And so there is an element of like forbidden love mixed up in it because so I don't know. It's so good. And every episode ends with enough of a hook that you're like, I just got to keep going. And so this is my second full length. So this is a Taiwanese drama too. I should have said that. It's on Viki. It's called Unknown.
Oh, it's Taiwanese. Oh, the only other Taiwanese drama I've seen is very good.
Kisake?
No, was that Taiwanese? Oh, it was, wasn't it? Oh, well, then I also saw the History.
So I did not,
whatever.
History
that was really good
did not do it. I saw History 3, which did not work for me. I saw Kisake, and I was
that the one with the cop?
Yes.
Did you see the one with the cop and the gangster? Oh, I loved that one.
Where they get like handcuffed together, and so I just wasn't into it. But I loved Kisake. Second male leads, obviously the best. And then now this.
Right.
And I'm going to say this is so good that for me, when I go to like my BL top list, My Beautiful Man is, I think it's impossible to unseat My Beautiful Man. I have a sick madness for My Beautiful Man. I mean, I think it might even just be my top drama ever. Like people can judge me for what they want. I don't know what it is. I am obsessed with that drama. But this, I would say at this point, this is probably number 2 out of everything.
Wow.
And I mean, I have a lot, like
Okay.
BL is like, people know I like to watch BL quite a lot. I feel like.
Okay.
And it's generally good. Like it's rare I see BL that I'm not into. Like there are some. Pitbull, I'm looking at you.
I
what did you say? Pitbull, I'm looking at you. Was it Pitbull?
Oh, I didn't see that one. No. Pitbull?
Pit dog? What was it?
Pit boss?
Pit boss. Pitbull.
Pitbull. Oh,
Pit boss.
Yeah, I was like, wait.
Yes, Pit boss.
Okay, I was like, maybe there is a BL named Pitbull for all I know. I mean,
but
okay.
And we saw like there is like a call for BL. Like I just want more and more. I feel like the space for unhinged BL is so wide open. Like I just want to have it injected into my lungs. I want to my lungs injected into my lungs. I want much more. I want it unhinged.
Right. I love it. Well, I'm sold. I'm going to watch it. I'm probably going to start it tonight or maybe tomorrow.
So if you are
then
at
I'll
home
watch
and you're
Queen of
like, what
Tears.
should I watch? And we've had listeners popping out like woodwork because I posted today that I've been watching it. And I know I'm onto something good when listeners all of a sudden are sliding to my DMs being like, no, fucking really, have you bought the coffee table book yet on it? And I'm like, I have not, but I will.
Oh.
Like it's
well,
very
now I'm
good.
Okay.
And now I have to decide what K-drama I'm going to watch next because I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be a contrary B and not start Lovely Runner, even though it's time travel and idols, which are 2 things I love. I want to wait and I think I kind of want to go left field and do something out of the box.
You know me, I love going left field and just choosing something that like no one's watching and then make everyone try to watch it. So go for it. There's so much going on right now.
Yeah.
So that's the thing I love about K-dramas. It's like, you know what? If you want to pick something out of left field, you can, and it's there, and there's like weird stuff, and you can just choose whatever you want, like Chicken Nugget.
Some older ones. And it's so funny to be like old. Somebody, oh my God. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to close here because this is a good example because this is like very similar to K-dramas. I had a parent luncheon on Sunday with like just like some parents that I like vaguely know. I got invited over. We got into like social time. And this guy was like, you know, it's so cool that you've started writing books. It's like such a new cool thing for you. And then I was like, oh, I feel kind of awkward to be like, and I was like, oh, well, I've done it. Like I did write really consistently for a while. Then I took a break and now like I'm starting to write and publish more actively again. And then he's like, yeah. And he's like, when did you start? And I'm like, well, I mean, my first book came out in like 2014 or whatever. He's like, so he's an older dad. And he's like, I'm 64 years old. He's like, 2014 feels like it happened 3 days ago. He's like, right? Because I was like, you know, I've been doing this like 1,000 years. He's like, not at all. He's like, you've been doing this.
Oh, that's
10 years. And so it's so funny because I think of dramas being like old dramas and they're like from like 2019.
I know. Well, I'll say this too. My mom and I are having a conversation because she was like, she was talking about how like how long like she's been married to my dad. My mom is 70 years old. And it's wild to me because like I lived at home for 18 years, then I went to college, and then I moved out. So I lived at home for 18 years. She's 70 years old. I was like, that 18 years must seem like a blip to you. And she's like, it does. Like to me, still, even though I'm like 40, like, well, okay, I'm 40. So half of my life I lived with my parents. So for me, that still feels like a long time. But for my mom, 18 years out of 70, you know, it's like perspective is so weird. It's so weird.
Is. And so with that said, I kind of feel like a little bit of a hearkening to go into maybe I'll watch something that's dropping right now. Maybe I'll watch something from the past. I've also been, some people have really been giving me some more compelling BLs after today. And now I'm like, I'm a little bit curious. So
yeah, there you go. And I'll watch. Yeah. I know there's one Allison wants me to watch, and I have to check my DMs to see what she recommended to me because I don't remember. But it wasn't Unknown. It was a different one. I'm almost positive. I'll have to check. But anyway, I will start it and I will let you know because I'll probably finish it quickly. You know me.
Yep. And then we can do a pod on it and bring Allison in because I think that this is
let's do it.
It's a very engaging drama, and it's just Duna. It's more angst than Duna, but along those lines.
Freaking love Duna.
And I know you love Duna, and I love Duna. And whenever I feel like I just see so much Duna hate, and I'm always like, fuck you. I like Duna. I thought it was like my favorite drama last year.
Yeah, it was great. All right. Well, yeah, we did pretty good with Amy. You know, we were well behaved.
We were. We did not lose it. We are finishing up a little bit. You know, we were going to go for an hour. We're at an hour and 10, and I didn't unplug myself one time.
Amazing. Amazing.
So
we did great. Because the Jennifer Blackwood episode that I edited was a monster because Leah kept unplugging. Oh, it's fine. It was funny because I got a message from Jen today. She's like, just saying like, I had so much fun. And then she's like, thanks for editing that podcast because I know it was long. And I was like, you have no idea because of Leah.
I'm so sorry. I am sorry.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I got it done. Clearly, it was fine. So anyway, let us know what you think about cliffhangers. And because we want to hear your thoughts. I know obviously we can't name every cliffhanger of all the dramas, so please let us know in like IG comments and stuff. What are your favorite cliffhangers or your least favorite?
Amazing. All right. Well, take care, everyone, and annyeong.
Yep. Annyeong.
감사합니다. Thank you for listening to Afternoona Delight. Where can you find us outside the pod? Head on over to afternoonadelight.com. That's AFTERNOONADELIGHT.com. You'll find links to all our social media, our book recs, K-pop and K-skincare recs, and if you want even more Afternoona Delight, because really who doesn't, you can join our Patreon, where you can choose the patron level that's right for you. Join in daily K-drama conversations, listen to bonus podcast episodes just for patrons, and participate in our monthly live K-drama support group via Zoom. We can't wait for you to be a part of the community. Until next time, annyeong!